Well, howdy there, Internet people. It's Bo again. So tonight's going to be a little bit different. We're going to do something on this channel tonight that we've never done before, anything even remotely like it. We're going to conduct a little experiment, and I have some other people who you may know helping me out with this. Tonight we are going to talk about the news like we normally do. However, tonight we're actually going to talk about the news, the media itself. You know, today's media, they often bring in experts who have a clear conflict of interest with the subject matter that's being talked about, and they don't really disclose it. They often bring in people who are not experts, but they portray them as if they are. And it seems as though the mission of today's media, rather than what it used to be, you know, it used to be to convey information, provide context, and alongside all of that, convey calm. There's a lot of scary stuff in the world. There's no reason for everything to be terrifying. Put it in perspective. But it's become so partisan and so, well, just out of whack that everything has to be shaped as it's almost the end of the world. What would happen if today's media was around during the points in time when the fate of the world actually did hang in the balance? Let's take a look. Welcome, America. It's Mick Beauregard, and tonight is October 22nd, 1962. We have some troubling news from the island of Cuba tonight, but stay tuned after our update for the latest on the blockbuster film Lawrence of Arabia and an update on the Belgians in the Congo. As outlined in President Kennedy's address earlier tonight, it appears the Soviet Union has installed nuclear missile launchers on the island in Cuba. This comes on the heels of Gary Powers being shot down in his U-2 spy plane over the Soviet Union and the Bay of Pigs invasion, which was an invasion carried out by Cuban exiles in an attempt to liberate the island from the Cuban dictator and communist bloc leader Fidel Castro. A leader who at this very moment is threatening the very existence of the United States. We can only assume these missiles were placed there for first strike capability. This attack was thwarted by the fine work of our U.S. intelligence services, saving lives, millions of lives, at least for the moment. Tonight, we'll be bringing in several guests to discuss the president's actions or inactions. First up is Racy Delaware, a D.C. insider with close connections to the administration.
Thanks, Mick. Yes, the president's complete inaction is reminiscent of his reluctance to truly commit our boys to help the poor people of Vietnam against the aggression of dictator Ho Chi Minh. It's time for this president to stop trying to achieve peace through talking and push the button. Let's get this show started. He should start both. Now, today, we fought the Germans and Japanese at the same time. Surely we can handle Cuba and Vietnam. They'd be home before Christmas.
Yes, Red China backing Vietnamese leader Ho Chi Minh is certainly a worry. But tonight, let's just focus on Castro.
Sorry, Mick. I just love this country so much. I wish the Democrats did too. Anyway, my friend Denise knows Kelly, who does Jackie's hair, and she said that Kelly said that Jackie said that Bobby said the president was too preoccupied with Marilyn's death to even consider a response to Castro. He's just talking about quarantining the island. It's time for him to man up. If we had a Republican in the White House, this wouldn't be happening.
That's reporting reminiscent of the great gossip columnist Walter Winchell there, Racy. Thanks for the insight. President Kennedy's decision to remain a pacifist and just quarantine the island has angered many in the defense community. We have a statement from Director of Government ourselves for Murder on Technology, but tonight we'll just be calling him a defense expert to avoid any appearance of impropriety.
What do I have to say? The same thing we've been saying since this peacenik was elected. He wants to end the arms race. That's great. But it's just not possible. Russians are different than we are. They only respect force. This little quarantine shows exactly how weak this president is. Does he think Khrushchev is just going to talk to him and they'll come to some kind of an agreement? We've only got one option, and one option only. The third option that my good friend Mac presented the president. We attack, and we attack now. I know of a little company that produces a low-altitude bomber that could fly right under the radar, take them out with limited fuss. That's what has to be done. This president doesn't have the stomach for it. I know what you're going to say, Mick. Yes, maybe we hit some Russian advisors doing that, and maybe they respond by hitting our boys in Berlin, but that's a risk I'm willing to take. Besides, I know a company that's got these great new anti-tank devices. You'll love them. Look, we're going to have to fight them sooner or later, and better now than in your children's time. Won't somebody think of the children?
Indeed, we need to think of the children. If we're going to have a nuclear war, we need to have it now. It's not like these launch sites are for putting space monkeys up. For another perspective on the inevitable coming war, we have a British journalist. She typically reports on royal scandals for the tabloids and has no subject matter experience whatsoever. However, she does have a British accent, which leads most American viewers to believe that she's an expert with a double doctorate of some sort. Tonight, rather than disclosing that, we'll just be referring to her as an investigative reporter. Catherine, what are your sources telling you?
My sources, which I can't name, tell me that your government is only telling you part of the truth. There might already be nuclear weapons inside of the United States right now. I was told that they were manufactured in Ukraine and they're ready to crowdstrike at any moment now. They might already be in your city today. You're at far greater risk than you might imagine. And I was told that Atlanta is one of the primary targets, Mick. You might want to remember that and move out of your area as soon as possible. The most important thing of all is not to panic as you're building your fallout shelters. Be leery of anyone that doesn't look like you. The president would like you to remain calm, but fear is what keeps you safe.
That's right, people. We have nothing to fear but people who are slightly different than us. We're going to take a quick commercial break here and come back with a special interview from a Bay of Pigs veteran. Are you a veteran? Were you asked to leave the service with an other than honorable discharge? Did you receive a dishonorable discharge? Here at Murderon Technologies, none of that matters. We can place you in a contract position and get you right back into the job you were in next to no time. Remember, the U.S. taxpayer spent tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars training you to become an instrument of war. Just because you've been a little too free with that training doesn't mean anything. This is the American way. It's capitalism at its finest. Murder on, man. Murder on. Welcome back. Now we have a very special guest who we can't name for security reasons. He's a veteran of the Bay of Pigs invasion and is going to explain to us why this time our efforts to teach Cuba our peaceful ways by force will work. I understand he is currently definitely not at this exact moment training more Cuban exiles to once again invade the country. You've appeared many times as an expert since your harrowing escape from Cuba when you selflessly tried to free the Cuban people from themselves and were employed by Christians in Action. Why will this time be different?
Thanks, Mick. We're on the range today, so please bear with gunfire in the background. Listen, I suppose I could be considered an expert on these matters, and as an expert, I would tell you that the Cuban people want democracy. They want what we have. They want it so bad that we have to go in there and murder people to give it to them. We owe them that much. I agree with the Murderon Technologies representative. We have to go in there and take that whole damn island. If the Soviet Union is going to force them to take nuclear weapons, then we have no other choice but to go in and invade them. The Cuban people are living under the boot of an authoritarian regime. We need to spread democracy. I've been there. I've seen the babies being taken out of incubators, WMDs, their state sponsors. The United States would never do this to another sovereign nation. Could you imagine if they left missiles in Turkey? Oh wait, we need to invade them before they invade us. They might have already. They're sneaky. They're sneaky sneaks. And those doves in Washington listening to Kennedy are just gonna get us killed. And anyway, what do they know about war? Back to you.
Indeed. True patriots in this country know this soft-handed Eastern elite attitude is just going to lead to the destruction of the United States. We need to act and need to act now. JFK needs to act before he gets us all blown away. Up next is Pox and Prems talking about the first real boy band in the United States as British Beatlemania sweeps the nation. In the meantime, enjoy this stock footage of the new craze sweeping the nation, the hula hoop. Keep informed on America's most trusted network for what might pass for news. Good night, America, and God bless.